Good afternoon. It's Friday before the big weekend, and it's about 75. It's nice, sunny, and it would have been nice to spend more of today sitting in a chair. I didn't spend any of it sitting in a chair outside, but it's a gorgeous day, so we treasure these. Yesterday I hurt my left calf walking. Today it's better. I swam a mile this morning, which, I don't know, seems to set me right when I do things like that. What's going on? Well, there's an out-of-this-world kind of experience by a group that is called the Event Horizon. And you probably know what that is. You may not connect the name to it, but Event Horizon is the edge of a black hole. And at that edge, there's such power pulling into the hole that literally stars can be shredded. And Einstein originally did the math that convinced him this was true. Now, he also said that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. And there was a great Indian physicist who proved that that was wrong. So he's not infallible, but his method is disciplined, Einstein's. And over the years, people said, how do we prove there's a black hole or not? And the Event Horizon Telescope has actually taken a picture using various algorithms and so forth of a black hole so many million light years away, it's hard to imagine. And this is the connection between, if you will, Einstein's work and others between him and now to lead to this telescope. And there are other black holes that they're looking at. And we're not in danger presently of going into a black hole. Now, as a metaphor, it's a beautiful thing if you consider that Trump is a black hole for truth. He sucks in truth, leaving behind only falsity. So that's my thing today. In the category of bad science, bad law, and bad governance, we have the judge in Texas who decided that after 20 years the birth control pill was, abortion pill rather, similar but different entities. The abortion pill was, it was flawed and it should be stopped. And the Court of Appeals looked at it and stayed its effect. That is what the judge had decided. And now, ironically, Alito, who famously wrote the draft that became public, that became law, ending Roe v. Wade, he, on behalf of the Supreme Court, issued a stay, I think it's until next Wednesday, so they can decide what they want to do about this. I assume it'll have something to do with a briefing schedule on an expedited basis. And I would guess the stay will stay in place. You never know with the Supreme Court, of course. And they may want additional things submitted to them so they can make up their minds and make their decision. The other thing that's interesting is that, and I think this is good news, that Trump has had to go to New York, and now we know he has a bunch of cases there. He has the DA case, brag. He's got a civil case a few blocks away from that courthouse involving a woman who said he raped her. And he has an ongoing civil case with the Attorney General, and that's what the deposition was about. Crocodile tears that he has to answer to so many different tribunals. I take this as a good sign that our courts are both offending our system of justice and facilitating it. Such are the times that we live in. We also have the case of a 21-year-old who, very talented, had access to confidential documents, released them, apparently with no other motive except his curiosity. And he's been arrested and is in custody, and I think they're going to have his arraignment on Wednesday. So that's pretty interesting stuff. And when you compare it, you hear our animals, when you compare it to Trump, who has basically admitted he had classified documents he had no right to, and he thumbs his nose at the government asking, by subpoena and otherwise, what he's doing, and he misleads them and uses his lawyers, apparently. We'll find out in time. So there's a lot going on, and we hope that we're going to have a hit, if you will, meaning that we're going to actually do something about it instead of talk about it. And there are more strains in court and in the public discussion that are helpful. And another one, of course, is Thomas. Thomas and his rich friend Crow. His rich friend Crow actually bought a house for him, said he wanted to preserve it for the public. And then Mrs. Thomas, she has a job with a group funded by Crow, $687,000 a year. She must really be good at something. And there are groups demanding that in civil and criminal proceedings that Thomas be punished for this misconduct. And you can ask, what's the specific misconduct? Well, it's been years since I had to fill out the documents, but Supreme Court justices have to fill out pretty much the same documents as to their goings-on financially. And he overlooked to put these things in those documents. Now, sins of omission, like statements that omit material products, is something you could punish somebody for. False statements. So I think he is approaching prime material for, if not resigning himself, being removed. And we've had a history of this. Abe Fortas, I mentioned a couple of days ago, who was a brilliant man, but he was clumsy about these things. And people who haven't spent their life dealing with the requirements of reporting and stricter structures to avoid the appearance of corruption, they sort of drive through these restraints, as Thomas plainly has. And so we have situations of outright corruption. But I've thought the people on the Supreme Court that have brought our country to its knees legally were a bunch of hack politicians taking advantage of their opportunities in violation of the law. So I'm hopeful that Thomas and his bride will come a cropper, and that finally he'll pay for what he's done to confound our notions of what's fair and just in America. This is not a place where he has affirmative action for himself secretly, because what? How does he justify it? He's a ruler. He's above the law, though designated to study the law, present the law, and to do it based on the law that exists and extensions of that, whether by case law or by statute, but by deliberate restraint on reaching so widely. And no question, Thomas genuinely recklessly has just sort of blundered through our notion of precedent and the law and its progression to be respected by the people. We see demonstrations in the street, and Alito and Thomas and others are responsible for that. Trump, for appointing them, is responsible for that. People on the Hill for certifying and approving these people. And if Thomas goes, Biden would get to appoint another justice to the Supreme Court. So that's what I got. I'm out in the field again. So I say goodbye to you until tomorrow. Bye-bye.